Hello everyone, I am Nivedita Jana from Ambika Prasad Research Foundation. Welcome to all of you to our channel, Biodiversity and Conservation. So today we are going to discuss about the threats to wildlife. Threats to wildlife. Extinction is a fact of life, a part and parcel of the process of evolution. Fossil records indicate that life evolved around 4 billion years ago in the form of bacteria and blue-green algae. For the first 3 billion years or so evolution was sluggish, but then it underwent a surge of diversification, during which period all main groups have evolved. The average longevity of a species has ranged from less than 1 million years for some groups of mammals to about 10 million years for certain vertebrates and certain groups of flowering plants. But for each that has disappeared, more than one species has replaced it. It means that the whole spectrum of species has changed many times. The extinction, however, did not occur at an even rate. Occasionally changes in climate brought by continental drift, volcanic eruptions, and impacts of asteroids have caused mass extinction and have considerably reduced the planet's diversity. 5 such mass extinctions are today known to have occurred, the most recent one ending the dinosaur era 65 million years ago. The selective elimination of some species and advancement of others has led to present composition of life on Earth, including man. So the process of natural extinction and formation of new species continues, of course, but something new has also evolved. A sixth major extinction event is now underway as large-scale rapid environmental changes affect much of the Earth's surface. The time the agent of environmental change is not natural but artificial. Humans are the most powerful agents of environmental change, driving the recent wave of extinctions. In the few plant and animal groups that are well known, extinction is taking place today at far faster rates than before humans inhabited the earth. So listed first, habitat loss. Habitat loss is the destruction, fragmentation, or degradation of habitat of an organism. It is the primary threat to the survival of biodiversity on our planet today. Habitat loss occurs when land cover or its aquatic equivalent is changed, usually as a result of changing use by humans. It is today being fueled by a fast-growing human population. As population increases, humans use more land for agriculture, and cities and towns spread out over widening areas. As a result, the natural habitat is damaged or destroyed to such an extent that it no longer is capable of supporting the species and ecological communities that naturally occur there. It often results in the extinction of species and as a result, the loss of biodiversity. So the human activities responsible for the loss of habitats include cutting and clearing of forest, encroachment into forest area, forest fires, illegal extraction of forest products, commercial monoculture plantations like tea and rubber, drainage and filling of wetlands, overgrazing, conversion of grasslands to croplands, industrialization and urbanization, mining and quarrying, etc. And the destruction of habitats has an adverse effect on the wildlife in the several ways, like it is upon the habitat that the organisms depend for meeting the requirements of life in terms of food, breeding grounds, or for nesting sites or rearing the young ones. When the habitats become smaller, less food and shelter are available. As a result, species living in these habitats compete with each other and with humans for limited resources. Since their populations are so small, they have fewer mates with whom to have offspring, diminishing the genetic diversity of their populations. Smaller habitats are like islands isolated from each other, and species have greater difficulties migrating from one to another, as less suitable pathways are available. In second, overexploitation. Overexploitation means harvesting species from the wild at rates faster than natural populations can recover. Humans have historically exploited plant and animal species to maximize short-term profit at the expense of sustainability of the species or population. Overfishing and overhunting are both types of overexploitation. Currently, about a third of the world's endangered vertebrates are threatened by overexploitation. Overexploitation follows a predictable pattern. Initially, a species harvested from the wild can provide a substantial profit, which encourages more extraction and leads to the development of more large-scale and cost-effective methods of harvesting the species, which eventually depletes the resource. The fishing industry, the logging industry, and grazing of cattle on public lands have all been examples of this process of overexploitation. When the rate of increase in demand for the resource outstrips the reproductive rate of the population, demand outstrips supply and drives the value of that resource higher, increasing the incentive to extract the resource and eventually leading to the collapse of the population. The residuals for the resource are population crashes, which can ultimately lead to global extinction. Thirdly, poaching. Sometimes organisms are harvested for purposes other than food. Many animals and plants are collected to be pets, souvenirs, or trophies in a collection of exotic species. Many of these collecting efforts are illegal and are also known as poaching, which is the illegal capture of protected organisms. So thus, poaching is an unlawful practice in which an animal is hunted illegally, mainly for commercial reasons. Those who practice illegal hunting are known as poachers, and poaching is considered to be an illegal practice due to a number of reasons, like the poacher is not a licensed hunter, the animal either belongs to the category of endangered species or dwells in a restricted land, and the poacher does not have a legal right to hunt the animal. Next to habitat loss, poaching fed by illegal trade in wildlife is a major problem that affects the survival of flora and fauna and in recent times has reached unprecedented levels. It fetches staggering profits for people who are involved in this trade. From small-time poaching and hunting, it has grown into a well-organized, sophisticated network of racketeers across the world who carry out a trade ring worth an estimated about 6 to 20 billion dollars worldwide, second only to the narcotics trade in magnitude. Then the next one is man-wildlife conflict. The human-wildlife conflict refers to the interaction between wild animals and people and the resultant negative impact on people or their resources, or wild animals or their habitat. When growing human populations destroy and encroach upon the natural habitat, it creates a reduction of resources in terms of food and space for the wild animals. Left with no options, they then invade the human habitation, areas leading to the conflict. There are, however, no winners in this war between man and animals. While the invading animals inflict damage on agricultural crops and property, destroyed houses, kill livestock, or worse, attack and in some cases kill people, they in turn are harassed, stoned, poisoned, electrocuted, burnt, or shot. Man-wildlife conflict has today reached alarming proportions in most of the states of India, with loss to crop and property running into lakhs of rupees, and more tragically, fatalities on both sides as a consequence of this conflict being on the rise. So, the root cause of the rising incidences of man-wildlife conflict is the severe destruction, degradation, decimation, and fragmentation of forest to make space for agriculture, industry, mines, dams, cities, etc. So, the reckless developmental activities, felling of trees, encroachment by the human beings within the wildlife areas is depriving the wild animals of their habitat. Earlier, there used to be wildlife corridors through which the wild animals used to migrate seasonally in groups to other areas. So, due to development of human settlements in these corridors, the path of wildlife has been disrupted and, in most cases, simply vanished. With man encroaching upon forest and migratory corridors, conflicts are bound to occur. Climate change. There is ample evidence that climate change affects biodiversity. According to the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, climate change is likely to become one of the most significant drivers of biodiversity loss by the end of the century. Climate change is already forcing biodiversity to adapt either through shifting habitat, changing life cycles, or the development of new physical traits. Pertinent examples of ecological responses to climate changes in wildlife are in first distribution shift, in second abundance shift, and in third phenology, and the fourth one is extinction. So the distribution shift as the climate change has changed a wide range of taxonomic groups have shifted their ranges because they are attempting to stay in areas where they are exposed to the same regional ambient temperatures, which generally means moving toward the pole and of in elevation. For example, the ranges of 39 butterfly species in Europe and North America have shifted up to 200-meter northward over the last 3 decades. Then the abundance shift, the Living Planet Index aggregates trends of some 3,000 wild populations of species, which are the results of multiple impacts associated with human activities. It shows a consistent decline in average species abundance of about 40% between 1970 and 2000. Inland water species declined by 50%, whereas marine and terrestrial species both declined by around 30%. And in phenology, the timing of different seasonal activities of many species is shifting in concert with the changing climate. Common changes in the timing of spring activities include the timing of migration in various species such as birds, mammals, fish, and insect species.